one of the most astonishing experiences of our trip. To back up his claims, Terpil suddenly handed over files of letters and telexes, addresses and phone numbers to lead us to manufacturers and shippers, and to his private contacts in Congress, the CIA, the US Special Forces, MI6 and Scotland Yard, all of whom he claimed had assisted him in his years of private practice. Our team telephoned unlisted numbers, visited homes and offices, but few of Terpil's contacts would have anything to do with the film. Occasionally, we were crudely threatened. At other times, we were given detailed corroboration of Terpil's information on the strict understanding that this was off the record. Whenever we presented our evidence, nobody denied their association with Frank Terpil. Broadcast guidelines prevent us from recording interviews without the consent of the subject, and the ring of silence might have held had it not been for the 2 court cases against Frank Terpil, which had flushed some of his contacts into the open, people who were prepared to corroborate Terpil's revelations and appear on film. This man, Kevin Mulcahy, formerly of the CIA, turned state's evidence in a case that is still reverberating throughout Washington. In June '76, Mulcahy became a partner in Intercontinental Technology, a company with headquarters here at 1612 K Street, Washington. The other 2 partners in ITI were Frank Terpil and a man called Ed Wilson, who impressed Mulcahy with his contacts in official Washington.
Socially, Ed and I met a number of retired individuals from the Central Intelligence Agency, as well as people that were currently employed by the Central Intelligence Agency. We, on more than 3 occasions, we had visited Capitol Hill and met the legislative and administrative assistants to a number of congressmen and senators.
Wilson had served in the CIA and Naval Intelligence. He also owned a 1,500-acre estate in Virginia and was close to men like Strom Thurmond, the arch-conservative Republican senator, and Theodore Shakley, then deputy director of the CIA. The question is, why did a man with those connections form a company with Frank Terpil to join the Russians, the East Germans, and the Bulgarians as suppliers to one of the most radical leaders in the Arab world? And how did Wilson and Terpil contract to transport tons of explosives, hundreds of classified night vision devices, and 500,000 detonators out of the United States in order to deliver them to America's supposed arch-enemy, Momar Khadaffi? According to Mulcahy, these questions began to trouble him in the autumn of 1976.
I didn't know whether or not it was a CIA operation, whether it was a legitimate business deal. I just didn't know what the hell was going on.
At what stage did you report your worries to senior people in the CIA?
In September of 1976, I told the FBI and I told the Central Intelligence Agency in gross and dramatic detail. I laid out the cast of characters that were involved in every deal I was privy to. Every company that was involved in the supply end of it. They had, I don't know, unless I'd gone out myself and dropped the body over the transom to the FBI, I don't think they would have done anything with it.
The CIA knew about the operation in Libya in 1976, but nothing was done to stop it until April 1980. Why do you think Terpil and Wilson were allowed to carry on for nearly 4 years?
I have no idea, none whatsoever. It's one of the things that bothered me enough so that I was willing to go public finally after 4.5 years of silence.
Mulcahy was not the only one to report his concerns to the authorities.
Heel of palm to nose. Heel of palm to chin. Toe to groin.
These are the Green Berets, the elite commando corps, at their main training center in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. In 1976, Terpil's cronies were active here, recruiting instructors for Khadaffi. Master Sergeant Luke F. Thompson was approached by one of them.
I was called at my home in Fort Bragg about 7:30 at night by a man who identified himself as Pat Loomis, and he asked if I was free to go abroad to discuss a contract of work in the intelligence field. And not really knowing who he was or anything about him, I had to lead him on to find out some specifics, because I thought he was from some foreign intelligence trying to subvert me. And he asked me if I could recruit a team of 5 people. So as soon as we got through talking, I called counterintelligence people and made them aware that I was approached by what I felt was a foreign agent. They came over to my house, and the intelligence people told me, said, this is completely legal and above board, so you have no worries. Pursue it as you desire. No problems.
With the apparent approval of counterintelligence and his own commanding officer, Luke Thompson took a squad of 5 men with 800 pounds of explosives to Libya. Shortly after his arrival, he was escorted to a desert palace where Americans were assembling booby traps, ashtrays, books, desks that would explode as soon as they were moved. Would you ever use these devices in conventional warfare?
No, it's not something that you would use as a device against an organized force.
What would you use these devices for?
Terrorist activities. On unsuspected civilians. Someone that would, would pick up an innocent item through ignorance.
What was Terpil doing out there?
He indicated, he acted like he was chief of the operation.
What, he was running the whole manufacturing facility in the palace?
Yes, he was.
We had one of the outbuildings or the outer buildings as an assembly point, an area of instruction for the assembly of these explosives.
Who were you instructing?
The people we were instructing were Libyan military, which I assume would be their equivalent of special forces.
Were you instructing any guerrilla groups from the outside, like ETA, the Basque Group, or the Red Army, the Italian Red Brigade, the IRA?
If we were not cognizant of it because we never spoke directly to the people.
So you were instructing Libyan military personnel and others whose origins you didn't know?
Which we didn't know, that's true.
I decided, being active duty military, I'd better get out before things get too bad.
Why were you worried?
Well, I could see that this wasn't something that I should be doing. It was obvious that something was wrong. And I decided I'd best burn my bridges and get out. When I got back to the United States, I reported to the counterintelligence people that I had been reporting to all along.
And what did they say to you about your worries?
Obviously, something's wrong. This is not an agency operation. So they put it back through the computer again, and they got a block somewhere. The agent told me, he said, we can only get so far up. It blocks.
And what does that mean?